Paul always suspected King Crab was more of a title than a name. And he wants to be the first human to bend the claw. Because one day, the crustaceans will rise, and only Paul will be spared. Foresight's a wonderful thing. Invest in innovation, including 3D printing, with OPTO.
The Federal Reserve's liquidity injections, obviously been pushing the market higher and higher. The Shiller PE ratio, which a lot of people use, I think Buffett's the one who sort of uses this heavily as well, is currently more than double its historical average. A threshold was surpassed only before significant market downturns in 1929, 1999, 2007. So what forward risks? Because I mean, the market's not cheap at the moment. I mean, it's
no, not at all.
People might act like it is, but it really isn't. Like, and that, I mean, this is what shows that from the data. How much of a forward risk is that? I mean, we've talked about if we have this persistent put, how are we? If they constantly have that, are valuations just typical valuations now higher, or the norm is now higher than whatever they used to be, or is at some point it going to sort itself out?
It's an interesting thought experiment. I mean, it's certainly, you can argue that we're in a permanently higher average PE level.
Yeah.
Because of that put and because of the constant liquidity that the policymakers put into the system. I'm sure you've seen that meme across X of, somebody throwing out Graham and Dodd's book, The Intelligent Investor.
Yeah.
Right? It's like my garbage can, right? It's like, I still think fundamentals matter. I still think valuations matter. I still think that the market is designed to punish the speculators ultimately and reward the patient.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't been the case for some time. I get it, right? But valuations I think do matter. I think probably the forward-looking returns for the U.S. markets are not going to be that phenomenal, AI or not. I have gone on record saying, which is a very unpopular opinion, that I would bet in the next 4 years China's stock market outperforms the U.S. stock market.
Really? What would be the causes of that?
Look at the difference, right? In terms of the valuation.
Yeah.
U.S. versus China, it's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's I mean, it's like the ultimate contrarian trade under a Trump administration. China's stock market outperforms the U.S.
Yeah.
You can't write a better contrarian trade than that.
That is interesting.
So
I was just going to say that the Alibaba example, you've probably seen it, that their valuation compared to the actual revenues are going in opposite directions over the last sort of 5 years. So some really, theoretically very good value stocks there. But then you've obviously got this risk from uncertainty in China. Is that what are the main reasons why the stock market hasn't recovered there? I mean, I know they're struggling a little bit as an economy, and they're trying to stimulate that now. Will that stimulation eventually, bottom the market properly and it will recover, like you were saying?
I think, so obviously there's the huge debt load and then the real estate crisis. I think the ultimate answer, though, is you just haven't had animal spirits because China was so brutal with lockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
That you didn't have the same sort of built-up consumerism that we saw in the U.S., right? So they have all this liquidity, but nobody's using it on the ground. That's probably the real answer. Now, the thing is that gets, the further you are away from the memory of those COVID lockdowns, the more likely you are to then go back to normal spending patterns, I would imagine. And if that's the case, then I would think that, you'd probably see a pickup in China consumerism.
Yeah.
That the stimulus starts to work again.
And because for a lot of people, the Chinese market, they don't know it at all. So if people were looking at a trade there, do you focus on the sort of mega caps in tech or like the indice? What's a safer play there?
Yeah, in quotes, safer. That's always a loaded word. Well, I think you probably do want to tilt large because it is true that, the smaller companies can just be taken out by the China government. A lot harder than the very large companies where the CCP is, also themselves involved, right? And there's less incentive. So probably, the Babas of the world would be the plays, right? That those companies are not going to go away.
Yeah, makes sense.